Between the two of them. The inside of Coates. Parker gets too heavily involved. And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Hello and welcome everybody to the AOC Gaming League of Champions powered by VRRC. You join us tonight, me being Jack Oliphant and my co-commentator as ever, Dave Marshall, at the Hockenheim ring, the short course for the start of the Mini JCW challenge, Mini JCW series. That's what we're calling it, isn't it? It's there you go on your screen right now. Fixed setup, fantastic looking cars. 4 brilliant circuits that have lined up for you over the next 4 weeks. Hockenheim, Nürburgring, Laguna Seca, Brands Hatch. And I tell you what, the signups have been mega. Everyone has turned up. Everyone means business, Dave.
Yeah, I think this one in particular, people really mean business, don't they? I think it's probably the most laps that's been churned out for any of the League of Champions so far. Chris Shepherd leading the way in time practice here with 290 laps under his belt. Other drivers over the 300 mark, so some serious practice on tonight's track.
Yeah, serious practice indeed. And it's all been leading up to this, really, because we've had the Ginetta Super Cup, we've had the Touring Cars, we've had the GT4 Sprint Cup, all of which were fantastic. They went right down to the wire. Minis are promising not to be any different. This is very exciting. Let's have a look at Spa Round 4. Now, this is the end of the GT4 now. Ryan Elliott took the most amount of points. Chris Shepherd was second. Jack McIntyre was third. The driver of the round was Andy Dorman. But of course, that is just one particular round. We are sort of looking forward to seeing this on your screen right now. The confirmed results for the GT4 Sprint. Jack McIntyre taking that victory with 136 points. Ryan Elliott with 131 in the end. Scott Bugner in third with 115. Chris Shepherd was fourth with Andy Dorman in fifth place as well. A lot of these drivers you'll see taking part in the minis. Pretty much everybody, actually, who I think has signed up for the GT4s has signed up for the minis. It's a very hotly anticipated championship, which is why we can't stop talking about it and getting excited. There is the rest of the field. A few drivers only been able to turn up for a few of the evenings, which is why it wasn't necessarily as high scoring. But with any luck, they'll be here because a lot of these drivers are mini drivers. So what are they winning, Dave? What is everybody here competing for?
Yeah, so exactly the same as the other championships we've held so far. Top prize is our top-of-the-range SR5 chassis there in either red, blue or black there. As you can see, we can do different colours. Second place prize, one of our SR3 chassis. So that's regarded anything up to, well, sort of £1,200 bracket for mountain wheels and monitors and triple setups too or whatever. And then third place prize, our fantastic GT F1 seats that go all the way from an upright GT position all the way to a reclined F1 position with just simply moving the bolt out the side of the seat. So fantastic prize and super, super comfortable, Jack. You know all about them.
I do indeed. You've also got some membership prizes as well.
We do indeed. So, yeah, again, the prizes don't stop there. Podiums obviously get the physical prizes, but fourth down to eighth place gets our different membership packages, which gives you discount, entry to certain championships. And, yeah, you know, you can't possibly win more prizes in any of the championships.
You can't. And even if you don't win anything for it all, and you just turn up for one night and you impress us so much, you could potentially win Driver of the Round. And that gets you an AOC Gaming headset. There are 4 to be won throughout the course of a mini championship, say the Mini JCW championship, indeed. And we'll be presenting them to each of the drivers whoever me and Dave feel have really impressed us most, whether it's not the quickest driver or the driver who's got us off our seat to maybe even fighting for 7th place. It's been a brilliant extra addition. The PMR Power Bucket as well, with the valeting bucket, basically, was a fantastic prize in the first 2 championships. The AOC Gaming headset is also another brilliant one. But let's quickly go and have a look at what the drivers will be up to this evening. The Hockenheim Short Circuit, a hot lap in the Mini JCW, provided by Dave Marshall.
So here we are, finally back behind the wheel of a Mini JCW for round 1 here at Hockenheim for the League of Champions Mini JCW powered by VRRC. Down towards turn 1, 4th gear, you take a lot of entry curve and on that throttle super early to get that diff to lock up and drive you over them bumps. Now it's crucial to get a good run through turn 2 here, because any time getting through that corner is going to be brilliant for your delta down this next straight. I'll just keep trimming them hundreds if not tenths off as we go down towards turn 4 here, trying to hang as far left as possible in the braking area to open the right hander up, taking quite a lot of entry curb and then gentle on the throttle just to get that real good drive out of that corner and not spin them wheels up too much. Now down towards turn 5, the left hand hairpin, just going to clip a little bit of grass by accident there, which is going to make us miss my apex, but there's really good banking on the inside of that corner there, which means you can get really good corner speed, brilliant drive out. And then in the second right hand, you can see I'm just going to pitch it onto that front left corner in 3rd gear, short shift it into 4th before the last corner and drive it through, and hopefully that's good enough for Paul. Make sure you tune in from 7:15 on Tuesday night on VRRC's usual YouTube and Facebook platforms.
And thank you very much, Dave, for a blast from the past for you, because you are obviously quite skilled and accomplished in the minis. And you just said then, while we were watching your lap, that you were quite enjoying just getting behind the wheel of one of these cars again. It's one of your specialities for sure. It's a speciality of a lot of the drivers out there at the moment. Just sort of try and describe to us, if you can, sort of what makes the Mini so special. It's obviously front wheel drive, but obviously some of the touring cars that we've been involved in this League of Champions. So I suppose what makes it fun to be driving it?
Yeah, so as you said, it's obviously got a lot of fond memories with me, which is obviously one of the main reasons why I enjoy driving it. Any car that you're successful in, I think you'll agree, you tend to be quite fond of. But yeah, it's one of them cars where it's all about trying to find the balance. It's very easy to push this car too hard and overstress them front tyres. It's quite playful, but yet again, actually, for all it's quite playful, you've got to play around with the brake bias a little bit and trying to get that car to rotate. And it's a real balance in that, trying to get the most out of this car. And when you get it right, it is so satisfying. As you can see at the moment, Jordan Brennan on currently a very low 1 minute 10.2, 1,000th ahead of Ryan Elliott. So he's just managed to get that little bit more out the car. Callum Newsham also doing a very, very good job indeed as well. A 1:10.3 dead, so less than half a tenth off pole lap. You can tell it just always provides such close racing, and I just thrive on that sort of closeness and urgency to get that lap in and make sure you get your stamp on the leaderboard.
Yeah, well, for anybody out here wondering and thinking, oh, that hot lap was actually a touch short, well, that's because we're at the Hockenheim short circuit, aren't we? We haven't got the full thing for you this evening, but Dave, this has all these sort of important overtaking points, doesn't it? Really, going into the first corner, second corner is quite a big braking point as well. Quite a fast sweeping right-hander. You into the final penultimate section as well. Obviously, two basically hairpins. It certainly is a track that will promote touring car style racing, isn't it? These minis, they don't shy away from a bit of contact.
Yeah, exactly that. And actually, just as we were saying that, I was about to get excited because Ryan Elliott had gone up in the pole, and then literally as Ryan Elliott, I saw him go up the leaderboard, Jordan Brennan's responded with that and gone a little bit quicker again. So both drivers going quicker again in first and second, not quite breaking into that 109 barrier. But yeah, as you said, Hockenheim, even though it's in Germany, let's face it, it's a bit like a UK style track, very tight, fast and flowy in certain corners, but really tight in where you'd require that nimbleness, as we can see there, perfectly demonstrated by Tom O'Farrell there on the cameras doing our fantastic broadcast. You saw how nimble and tight that was to get through the chicane, a little bit like Knock Hill maybe. I mean, I know we don't have the gradient, but it's that sort of left, right, left through there. So very, very tight indeed there, Jack.
It is, yeah. So, as you were mentioning, obviously, the lap times before, who is going quickly? Well, Dan Zelos is going mighty fine. In Sector 1 and Sector 2, he's both gone green sectors. Currently sat in 5th position. But for anybody out there wondering, we are expecting slightly quicker lap times, to be honest. We were under the 1 minute 10 margin. We were in the 1 minute 9 in the practice session. But as you mentioned before, Dave, we had plenty of drivers doing well over 200 laps. So it's whether or not they could do it just on a one-off or whether they can consistently do it. Dan Zelos came across the line, couldn't improve from 5th position. This is Mick Sutton now, I believe. It is indeed coming across the line. Again, not improving. Andy Dorman, Sector 1, has gone purple. Andy Dorman flying. And I tell you what, we were impressed in practice, weren't we, Dave? Because Dorman was about 1,000th of a second away from Dan Zelos, who has driven these cars before in real life. I'm pretty sure anyway.
Yeah, so he's a current contender in the Mini JCW Challenge in real life, as is quite a lot of drivers actually competing at the moment. We've got the likes of Callum Newsham as well, and also a few Cooper drivers. So we've got Nicky Taylor down there in 12th place at the moment, a newcomer at the championship, newcomer at VRRC, and you know what? He's entered, he's going to have a go, and why not? So yeah, he's probably, not going to be right up on the timesheets in qualifying, but he's got great racecraft. He's won several races in real life, so I'd imagine his racecraft's really going to help him come through. But Andy Dorman, let's go back to Andy Dorman, currently putting it P3 on the grid, just behind Ryan Elliott. I mean, we were talking about this. Andy Dorman's one of them drivers. He did academy. He's just been getting better and better, stronger and stronger. I tell you what, this is proving to be a really good track record for him.
It is indeed. I think, has Dan Zelos just been pushed down to 15th position? Was that maybe a track limit ping or something?
We've had him disconnect from the server, so hopefully he can get back into qualifying and retake that place. But yeah, currently with the disconnection there, unfortunately.
Oh well, he's got 7 minutes to get back into the server, hasn't he? Fingers crossed.
He's back in. He's back in.
Oh, he is. Yeah, there we go. So that was panic averted for Dan Zelos fans out there. Well, if you are here, actually, speaking of that sort of ilk, if you're here supporting a driver, whether it be Dan Zelos, Andy Dorman, Chris Newsham, I know the Newsham Nutters are very active.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
The Newsham Nutters, they love it, don't they? I actually had the great honour of, when I was at Alton Park, I actually met a few of the Newsham Nutters. Apparently they recognised my voice. So that was quite nice to say hello. It is a bit odd, because normally when they say, you know, people recognise, it's normally my brother, and it was a bit weird for me to be recognised, but it was quite nice anyway. So hopefully the Newsham Nutters are in the chat. They can let us know, maybe give their support for Callum, try and get in that driver of the day is where I'm going with this rambling, because driver of the day, obviously, we take into account maybe what you guys are seeing at home as well, who you think is driver of the day, and who you want to put your vote down. Ultimately, it's me and Dave and the VRRC backroom staff. Tom O'Farrell always gets a vote in our Discord as well, and Rich sometimes comes in and gives a deciding vote if we can't decide as well. So, but if there is anybody out there that you want to have a shout out for, by all means, stick it in the chat and we'll try and read it out.
Yeah, exactly that. I'm just having a quick look here at the timing sheets, and actually Jordan Brennan's gone slightly quicker again in Sector 2. Callum Newsham, I know, is very good friends with Jordan Brennan, so them two aren't going to be that argy-bargy on grid, but I tell you what, I can't believe how close it is. That's like, what, less than 2/10 separating 8 drivers? Incredibly close at the moment.
Yeah, now the thing is, all of a sudden, when we get down to the nitty-gritty, the close times that we've got here in the Mini JCWs, and we've had to do it in the previous mini-series of the, not the mini-series. Every time I say a mini-series, I mean it as in a short series, but now I can't say it because we are in minis. 4-week championship, so the GT4, the Ginettas, all the touring cars, actually, we've had to really talk about ping every so often, haven't we, Dave? Because sometimes that can cause a little bit of havoc. I know Chris Shepherd, I think it was in the GT4s at Shanghai, he decided that his lag was so bad, his internet connection wasn't doing him any favors, and he was actually a liability, so he jumped out of the server. Now, the reason I bring this up is because Andy Dorman, he did his flying lap in 3rd place at the moment. His ping was in high 70s, and normally you want it around the 20 mark, which means he was getting a little bit of lag. It's calmed down a touch now, but maybe that's something Andy Dorman is going to have to think about. Maybe it's something that the drivers around him are going to have to think about, because the problem is if he's slightly lagging, that means everyone around him will appear in different positions potentially, or he might get a bit of time lag, and all of a sudden racing is so quick, he might accidentally, without any meaning to, cause an accident. So it's going to have to be a little bit of caution here and there and everywhere from these drivers tonight.
Yeah, you are right there, but I tell you what, he may be thinking of that, but I bet Andy Dorman's on cloud 9 really here a bit, isn't he? The first P3, Jack McIntyre, that's a bit more like what we expected to see. Obviously a runner-up in both Mini Challenge E-Series in Seasons 1 and 2, but you can see up into P5 a bit more like the potential that he's actually got. But, you know, the overall lap time in Jack Mac, it's not the deciding factor, I don't think. We've seen how consistent Jack is, and especially in the GT4, it's that consistency that's really helped bring him through and bring home the championship wins. So very impressive to see there. Brad Smith on screen, currently sitting P12. I mean, normally in the real world, where he sat there with the time that he's off pole lap, you would think that's probably not too bad, but unfortunately it's that close of a grid at the moment. It sees him back in P12, so yeah, we'll wait and see what Branton do during the race. But I tell you what, he's got Paul Laramie right up close behind him. Oh, taking a lot of entry curb there as well, but you can see the car just takes it, throws it over the inside line, the shortest line possible.
Yeah, I love that, you know, to see a car absolutely throwing it over an apex like that and just absorbing the bounce and the fact that it's riding it so well. I mean, the obviously Knock Hill comes to mind, doesn't it? The chicane where people just send it, and the first corner at Knock Hill, they just send it over the curb and the cars just take it and mellow out so nicely, and that's what we're seeing here today. I'm glad we're not being overly strict on track limits, because there's an argument to be said, you know, maybe they're gaining an unfair advantage. Where do you cross the line? Rich, I'm sure, he would have been very clear in the driver's briefing about exactly what is track limits, what he will be pinging And these drivers will have to really keep an eye out there. It's all about extracting the most amount of time possible. Scott Bugner has given a huge drift there. He was going full Lewis Hamilton into the tyre walls there on the F1 2019, I think it was, in the wet. That was absolutely sensational from Scott Bugner, though. He held it. Hamilton didn't.
Yeah,
What does that say?
That's a tick on the board for me already, Jack, for possible driver of the day. Just that catch-along. Yeah, that's what we like to see. Scott always providing a bit of action and managed to get, well, I was going to say the most out of the tyre, but I think that was a little bit past that, wasn't it?
It was a little bit. The rear end, that was a typical sort of front-wheel drive attribute. But I just want to point out, Jordan Brennan has purpled 2 sectors. Sector 1. He's
gone quicker.
Sector 3 wasn't Sector 2, but it doesn't matter because he's gone 0.2 of a second quicker than Ryan Elliott. Now, Jordan Brennan was already on pole position, so he's gone about 1.5 tenths quicker than his previous time. That's absolutely huge, and the reason why we know it's huge because look at Chris Shepherd jumping up to 4th place, and look at the gap between Ryan Elliott and Andy Dorman for 0.5 tenth. Chris Shepherd about less than 1 tenth. Callum Newsham, 0.5 tenth. Jack McIntyre, 0.5 tenth. Dan Zelos, I could keep going on. Dan Zelos and Scott Bugner, also 0.5 tenth. The top 8 are separated by, if my maths are correct, 0.3 of a second, roughly?
Yeah, it's not making our job very easy, this, is it? Trying to figure out how many zeros is after the dot. It's not the easiest job for us, but yeah, what we can say is, regardless of the maths, you can see how close this is going to be around this tight and twisty track. I mean, I would like to be racing this.
Yeah, I'm sure you would, Dave. You'll probably disappear next week. I'll be like, where on earth is Dave? And he's setting laps. And
Chris Shepherd going fast. Chris Shepherd going very fast.
He's second sector, that's a purple. The top 3 ahead of him are all in the pits, so they're not going to respond to whatever he can pull out the bag here, and you can tell he's trying to use as much track as humanly possible. Get on the power nice and early. This is a quick time from Chris Shepherd. The sector 3 is not quicker, and he's having to stay in 4th place, even though he got that purple sector 2. Jack McIntyre, green sector 3. No improvement, no from him. Scott Bugner is green sector 1 and 2. So wait for him to come across the line. He's about to come through the final corner, I believe. Scott Bugner, we just want to keep an eye on him. Then we will have a chat to our pole position man, Jordan Brennan. Chris Shepherd, here is Scott Bugner, in fact, with his 2 green sectors, and it's good enough to get him up to 6th position. A great lap time there by Scott Bugner, overtaking Jack McIntyre, GT4 Sprint champion, and Dan Zelos, touring car champion.
I cannot believe how close this is. I cannot believe how close this is. I mean, Jack Mack there, sitting in 5th place, and then in the space of, what was that, 3 minutes, we've had 3 drivers go within 1/10 of a second faster than him. Incredibly close lap times at the moment.
It is indeed. But I tell you, one person who will be pleased is our pole position man, Jordan Brennan. And I think, Dave, I'm going to ask you to try and drag him into the interview waiting room, into the broadcast box, and then you can have a word with him.
Yeah, we will do indeed. I imagine he's probably sat in the pits now thinking that's about all he can do. Jordan Brennan, what a hell of a lap that was. 0.2 ahead of the grid, and as you can probably see by the rest of the grid, it was incredibly tight from second back over.
Yeah, I knew I could put a quick lap in, but I was just struggling in practice. And then on that lap that I did, I'd nearly followed a car going off, and I was like, oh no. So I lost a little bit of time. There was a bit more in it, but yeah, it was good qualifying. Though.
Yeah, I mean, anything a sub 10 is a ridiculous pace, really, out of this car around this track. I take you just feeling a little bit more in the rhythm with this car now. Have you found any traits that it's used to, or is the car quite balanced and, you know, you can feel like you can really press it on and pedal it quite hard?
I don't know, really, to be honest. Something with this car just works with me. But yeah, the main thing that I found is that she's just getting it rotated on the brakes.
Yeah. I mean, one other quick thing that we noticed as well is obviously a few of the drivers in the championship at the moment doing quite a lot of laps. And you did do laps, but you didn't do, nearly 300 laps, should I say. I take it, it was just a case of just bringing the 8 game and hooking that lap up when it mattered.
Yeah, I jumped on earlier in the week and did a few laps, and it felt all right fairly early on. So I was just like, we'll see what everyone else is doing. It was only towards the end where a few people started getting faster, so I was like, oh no, this is going to be a bit closer than I hoped. But yeah, I've just been really busy lately, so it's hard to get time to come on.
Well, huge congratulations, Jordan. I can see Michelle Dunn in the comments is rather happy with your pole lap as well. Huge congratulations on putting it on the front row, and look forward to seeing what you can do in race 1.
Yes, thank you.
Well, that was a rather nonchalant Jordan Brennan having a chat to Dave Marshall. That you wouldn't think that he just stuck it on pole position by about 0.2 of a second compared to everyone else slightly struggling. But we will speak a little bit more about how he did that in a second. But first, we're going to have a word with our sponsors, AOC Gaming. And we're back, and you can see them all lining up on the grid now. Jordan Brennan on pole position. You said while we were just in that little interim there, Dave, that he's basically laid backwards, a very nonchalant character, but I'm sure it'll be heart racing inside a little bit to try and get off the line here. It's going to have to be a clean start. Ryan Elliott in second place. Andy Dorman absolutely flying. We said how pleased we were for him in qualifying. He's going to be buzzing. I reckon if there's anybody's heart going quicker than Jordan Brennan's right now, it's going to be Dorman's, isn't he? He doesn't want to throw this away, Dave.
Yeah, this is a great chance for Dorman to put a podium on the table. Really, I mean, he's got the pace in the car. Unlike the other events that we've maybe seen him being pushing for that podium, he is on pace here today. That is absolutely fair as anything. He is third place on pace here in qualifying, so it's all to play for. As you can see, the grid is slightly more staggered than it will be at some of the other tracks we've been to, so the start maybe isn't as crucial as some of the others. But I tell you what, Ryan Elliott might have a hard job from that inside line if he doesn't get the start to get back across to open turn 1 up for himself.
He may well do, but we're going to have to find all that out in about the next 10 seconds, aren't we? Because we're about to get racing here for the Mini JCW first race of the League of Champions. It's about to get underway, and for the first time this evening, we are racing here. Jordan Brennan gets a good start. It's an aggressive move across, but I think it was Callum Newsham in 5th place. Ryan Elliott slots into 2nd. He's not far behind Jordan Brennan, but here comes Andy Dorman. I think that is trying to keep it on the inside, forcing... No, Dorman, sorry, gone into 4th place as we're looking at the lead here. Ryan Elliott, as Jordan Brennan goes... Ryan Elliott went wide. Jordan Brennan goes into the race lead. Apologies, my screen is lagging just a touch. It was Chris Shepherd in 3rd place, Callum Newsham in 4th, and Andy Dorman slipped down to 5th.
Yeah, so Dorman just getting swallowed up a little bit there, but look at Jack McIntyre round the outside of Dorman into the right-hander, and we've got actually, is that Dan Zelos up the inside, but Dorman's got the inside line back on McIntyre. He's going to try and go round the long way, round the outside. Is he going to find the gravel? He's gone round the outside of Jack McIntyre. What a fantastic move up towards the hairpin. Chris Shepherd just up ahead of Callum Newsham in front as well. Chris Shepherd with a great start there, getting himself up. Ryan Elliott, maybe a slight mistake that we saw, just out-judging the braking point there and allowing Brennan to get exactly the start that he needed to. But actually, what a clean start that was from all the drivers there.
Yeah, it was actually. It's quite surprising slightly. McIntyre holding off Zelos, and that allowed Scott Bugner to think about having a go on the orange Mini. As we look a little bit further back, this is Mick Sutton maybe came out of the last corner with a little bit of an issue. He's dropped back a little bit further away from the drivers that were around him. Andy Carroll going through the first corner now, but you're absolutely right, Dave. A clean start all the way through, I think. Yeah, everybody. Oh no, as I say that, I was just looking at the grid, and I think that's Taylor. Nicky Taylor been turned around there. We didn't see what happened, unfortunately. But
I think that was a slight collision. I think it was Mick Sutton. I think just outbraking himself slightly and hitting into the back of Nicky Taylor, just forced him round. Really unfortunate there for Nicky Taylor. Just looking at the timing sheets, and Jordan Brennan is on an early push here, putting purple sectors in. Actually, as I say that, Ryan Ellie's just responded by putting fastest second sector in, so it's going to be really interesting to watch the lead battle develop there. But I tell you what, this between Andy Dorman, McIntyre, Zelos and Bugner, just off the back of these, this is a battle that's going to keep developing, isn't it?
Well, I think from Dorman's perspective, he'll probably have looked in his mirrors and seen that Zelos is fighting McIntyre. Dorman needs to show the pace that he showed in qualifying, doesn't he? He needs to try and catch up to Callum Newsham before those four drivers really pull away and McIntyre or Zelos pull Dorman in. But look at that huge send up the inside by Dan Zelos through turn 1. And look at how much overspeed he carried into turn 2 there. Zelos up to 6th position. Bugner. And where is Bugner?
But Bugner has a hell of a run here on McIntyre. He's going to have the chance to go for a possible move, I think. Here up into the right-hander. Will he have the commitment levels to send up the inside? Oh, he's shown his nose. McIntyre will have seen that. What a move by Scott Bugner. He's not going to give him much room through the S's there, but McIntyre has to bail out on that. Scott Bugner up a position, trying to follow Zelos through. Zelos, I tell you what, has gone right. I've got past that, and now we're straight on the case of Andy Dorman.
Maybe Zelos with a point to prove. Maybe he wasn't very happy with where he qualified. To be fair, it looked like he had better pace in practice than his qualifying. That's a huge send on the inside by Paul Laramie on Thorpe. Laramie absolutely sending it. McIntyre, sorry, not McIntyre. I was going to say it's similar to the McIntyre and Bugner move, but actually that was sent a lot later by Laramie. And to be fair to them, they didn't make any contact. But Laramie runs wide. But look at this, Kenny Press getting a fantastic run through the penultimate corner. Can he get the cutback? No, it's seen off by Simon Thorpe for now. But for how long? Probably only until the second corner. It's a brave move to go at the inside of the first one. Kenny Press. Oh, yeah, there we go. Breaks a little bit early, potentially a touch too early, but actually Simon Thorpe runs very wide. It has meant that he's carried enough speed to stave off the attack from Kenny Press just for the quick second. But this, even at the back of the field, this is what we love about League of Champions, isn't it, Dave? Even at the back of the field, these guys are providing some fantastic entertainment. As soon as the front guys get a little bit spaced out, it's reliable, isn't it? You just shoot to the battle for the top 10 and there's people fighting each other hammer and tong.
Yeah, you know what? This is absolutely fantastic racing here. Simon Thorpe doing a fantastic job keeping good pressure on the back of Paul Army there. Maybe just a little bit too throttle happy there through the right-hander. You saw how wide that made him go. But I tell you what, after Nicky Taylor's... Simon Thorpe with a huge move, a huge lunge up the inside of Paul Army. And I tell you what, look who's behind. Nicky Taylor right on the back of these bunch of three now. Nicky looking like he's got that little bit more pace than the three in front. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to negotiate this. I know fine well Nicky Taylor will be the first one to throw it up the inside if there's a gap, and look at that, a perfect cutback there on Simon Thorpe. In fact, that was a really nasty collision there by Kenny Press. It seemed almost like his car got slowed down on the exit of the bend there, which was really quite bizarre. I don't know whether that was necessarily anyone's fault there, but Nicky Taylor going to be sure to try and catch on to the back here of Paul Laramie. But as you said before, fantastic racing up and down the grid here. Simon Thorpe missing his braking point then, going a little bit wide. But I tell you what, the battle up front, this Jack McIntyre battle with Scott Bugner, they haven't really spread out that much. Dorman's still doing enough, and that gap between Zelos and Dorman is about the same as it was before.
Yeah, well, as I said before, I think Dorman needs to just focus on trying to catch up Callum Newsham. The attack being the best form of defence, I would say, against the likes of Zelos, Bugner and McIntyre. For three very experienced sim racing drivers. But of course, Andy Dorman, you know, I wouldn't say he's inexperienced now, Dave. He might not be as experienced as the others at racing, but he's certainly come on leaps and bounds. And if there was a most improved driver for the League of Champions, my vote would go to Andy Dorman. But the problem is, for him, this is obviously the final of the League of Champions. I'm sure there'll be a third series, hopefully, fingers crossed. We haven't heard anything, but still, Andy has spent the previous 3, the Ginettas, the touring cars, and the GT4s, all customizing himself to the cars, customizing himself to potentially the drivers around him and everything. He hasn't really been in any threat of getting that major prizes, has he? The Sim Race 5, 3, or the GT F1 seat. This will be the championship. He'll be hoping to really stamp his mark on an actual championship prize, won't it? He'll be hoping to maybe even crack into that top 10 of the sort of overall finale, League of Champions finale, which will be, of course, in a couple of weeks, for 5 or 6 weeks' time. So Andy Dorman really announcing himself, but he needs to make that next step again, doesn't he? And do it quickly, because there's only 4 weeks in this championship.
Yeah, but you know what, if I'm honest, I'm looking at the pace and Andy Dorman is doing exactly what he needs to do here. I think he's maybe just looking in his mirrors a little bit now as Zelos is just getting that little bit closer. His lap times are starting to drop off just a little tenth here and there. Andy Dorman last lap at 1:10.4. Actually, that was his fastest lap that he's done. So actually, he's maybe looking in his mirrors, but he's got his foot down. And I tell you what, that shows how close it is. A 1:10.436 from Dorman, a 1:10.431. So that is what, 0.05 of a second difference between Dorman and Zelos, who's tucked in behind. So incredibly tight group here in this mid pack. Actually, I'm looking at the lap times. There's 3 drivers on almost an identical time. Dorman, Zelos, and Scott Bugner in following as well. So incredibly close this pack here. It might be down to who makes that little mistake, and then as soon as that mistake's made, expect to see that big bunch in effect. But I'd actually quickly point out as well, Jordan Brennan, not the lap gone but the one before that, I did notice it set fastest lap of anyone. I believe that was even faster than his quali lap, a 1:09.884. So incredibly fast pace by Jordan Brennan. And actually Chris Shepherd is starting to put the pressure on Ryan Elliott, his teammate, up in front. So this will be an interesting battle to keep an eye on as well.
It will be indeed. Yeah, Brennan has just sent it and gone, to be honest. He's quite far ahead of everybody else. He's 2.5 seconds ahead of Ryan Elliott. Chris Shepherd and Ryan obviously know each other very well. Here they are on the screen, focusing on Chris Shepherd, just sending a little bit more speed through there. But Ryan Elliott maybe getting a bit of a better exit because he's taking the tighter line. It's a bit of cat and mouse, really. These two will be focused, though, won't they, Dave? They're not messing around. They don't need to fight amongst each other and invite Callum Newsham in, do they? Callum Newsham has probably been one of the unluckiest drivers that we've had in the entire sort of League of Champions, second season of League of Champions, to be honest, in my opinion. Because I think if you cast your mind back to the Ginettas, he qualified, I think, on pole position or second place. He ended up getting a drive through, and then in the second race, he fought back really well. And then the next round, I think he got crashed into, and it's just not happened for Callum at all. And so as a mini driver, again, he'll, a bit like Dan Zelos, even like Andy Dorman, who's not a real life driver, but still will be hoping to make his announcement in the stage. Callum will be hoping to have pure top 4 finishes and be in a position for a championship come the end.
Yeah, exactly that, and I think you've nailed it on the head there. Whoa, Scott Bugner yet again, getting a bit sideways. But yeah, Callum Newsham, as you said, one of the unluckiest drivers, whether that's just been the wrong place or certain of the cars just missing the braking points or getting on the grass, always just seems to be the one that's collected. But I tell you what, there's nothing wrong with the race today. He's up into P4, brilliant pace from the off, and I tell you what, he's in a nice bit of clear air, a good solid points haul in race 1 for him provisionally. I don't want to give him a commentator's curse, but sitting there in P4. And I tell you what, I'm looking at the pace of the drivers ahead, a 1:10.7 from Ryan Elliott and a 1:10.5 from Chris Shepherd. I think these two drivers are starting to battle a little bit, and Newsham will really start to gain on the back of them quickly if they keep lapping that lap time.
Well, I was a bit worried, actually, because obviously we said before that they won't hold each other up. I think at some point they're going to be forced to hold each other up because Newsham is putting in good lap times. He was a 10th quicker than Shepherd. He was 3/10 quicker than Ryan Elliott. At some point, Chris Shepherd is going to say, well, come on, Ryan, you need to get a move on here because I'm feeling a little bit of pressure. Either let me swap or fight it, because Newsham is in a good place. 11 minutes gone still means there's 9 minutes to go. And of course, there is that reverse grid just after this race as well, Dave. throws a spanner in the works completely. It's fantastic. If anybody has tuned in and thinking, this is a bit tame, one, I don't know what race you're watching, and two, just wait for 20 minutes time. Dan Zelos is hoping to make it very much not tame at all. Look at this send. He's going to try and, I was going to say he's going to try and go around the outside, but actually I realized what corner we were on. He was just trying to open the apex up to get a good run through the S's and to try and get up Andy Dorman's inside through the last section. This left-hander is too far away for now, and then obviously there's the double right as Dorman, a little bit of puffs of smoke that won't be affecting his lap time at all. They'll all be doing that. It's just that the rear wheel gets cocked in the air, it creates that sort of friction. And look, that looks like Ryan Elliott going wide, and Chris Shepard getting a fantastic run into turn one. Is a crash waiting to happen if he sends it, but hopefully it all keeps it nice and clean. Callum Newsham will be hoping for otherwise. There we go. Ryan Elliott keeps in the race lead for now. And I tell you what, he took the first corner actually really well. That's a huge send though by Chris Shepard. It looked like Ryan Elliott was potentially expecting it as Zelos gets through on Dorman. And looks like Bugner, he's listening to his mate Lee's in the chat because he's going big sends here around the outside of Dorman. He hasn't managed to make it stick.
Yeah, that was a case there of the gap was there. He showed his nose, but Dorman made sure, and we've seen Scott Bugner do this move before. He's going to show his nose, but I tell you what, Dorman's going to keep his foot in round the outside. But I don't know whether that's enough. He's had to cut the corner because he couldn't make it. But Scott Bugner has found his way through. Andy Dorman's dropped back into 7th place. But watch this, is Dorman going to go for a lunge up the inside into the hairpin? I'm not sure whether he's close enough. He isn't. So Scott Bugner finds his way up into P6. Dan Zelos has found his way up into P5. And that was just a massive chain reaction there, wasn't it, Jack? It was a case of one driver got through and then it created a chain reaction further back, and one thing led to another. But McIntyre not really close enough to take out any advantage of that.
What a lap. Shepard overtaking Elliott, Zelos going through on Dorman, Bugner following in suit. Not quite as easy as he was hoping for, but still making it stick. There's still about 7 minutes left to go, and anything can happen, to be honest. Zelos looking a little bit wide there. Bugner may well have ambitions of going for another move, as Elliott has ambitions to try and retake that second position. There is no team championships in this, so although they are technically teammates and friends, it doesn't matter if they score second and third. It's just personal pride and personal points that are on the lines here. Callum Newsham, how much has he gained in that last lap? Well, I can tell you the answer. Newsham with a 10.5. Ryan Elliott was a 10.9. A full 0.4 of a second. Callum Newsham picking up that extra time everywhere he can. They're still going to be fighting each other. Chris Shepard with a green sector 1. Ryan Elliott, though, it seems to have attached himself onto the back of that Mini JCW, hasn't he, somewhat? And I think these guys will have to start, thinking about the championship and maybe just trying to get in consistent lap times. Fight it out in the last two laps, lads. That's all you need to do. Inviting Callum Newsham is only going to spell danger for the points haul.
Yeah, exactly that. But I tell you what, the way Ryan's driving at the moment, this is a case of he's not wanting to give that place up. I think it was a case of he ran wide. It was a little mistake, but he's definitely got the pace to be in front of Chris Shepard, possibly with the way he's driving at the moment. He is all over the back of him. Whether this is just putting pressure on, he doesn't anticipate getting through, or whether he's like, no, this is an individual championship, and I'm going to go for it. Oh, I thought it was him showing a nose there, looking like he was going to go up the inside of Chris Shepard there. As you said before, they are on a team, but there is no team orders here. There isn't a team standing, so Ryan seems to be racing completely for himself. But I tell you what, I think they do have to watch out for themselves, because any contact between them and Callum Newsham really isn't that far off the back at all. So Callum Newsham doing a very good job just to keep enough pressure on here in P4.
I'll tell you what, it is refreshing as well not to have team orders coming into play as well, isn't it? Because I commentate on quite a lot of championships that have had a team championship, and the team championship has never amounted to any prizes or anything. It's just a statistics sort of thing, but it still means that people don't fight each other very hard, even though there's personal prizes for overall driver standings. And to be honest, I'm all here for this type of racing. Just get out there, see what you can do, help each other in practice, do whatever you want, but when you get into the race, it's all about who finishes ahead of another driver. Bugner is absolutely flying here, but look at this. Ryan Elliott trying to go around the outside of Chris Shepard. This is going to be a big send if he can make it happen. He's going to have to try and steer back in, get that cut back. Is he going to try and go for the move? No, Chris Shepard defends it, but how much will that be hurting both of these drivers? Callum Newsham will visually be catching both of them up. And look at this, Ryan Elliott, and I think Shepherd knew he was running wide there, driving in his mirrors. He didn't get that turn in, didn't get that apex. Ryan Elliott goes through and retakes second place, but misses the apex. Shepherd, oh no, he went for a late apex. The panic averted, he knows more than me, that's not shocking.
Yeah, very, very good move there by Ryan Elliott. Just set it up, made Chris Shepherd defend the corner before, and then used that extra run all the way through the next set of corners. Managed to get up the inside. I wonder whether Chris Shepherd there's just used a bit too much of his tyres, trying to really pull ahead and get an advantage there on the driver in front. So yeah, it's one of them where it looks like Chris Shepherd now has dropped off a little bit from Ryan Elliott. And I tell you what, Callum Newsham's actually closer and bigger in their mirrors than ever. I noticed Scott Bugner as well is putting some serious pressure on Dan Zelos, not far behind at all. And I like same scenario with Ryan Elliott and Chris Shepherd. Any battle between these, and Dorman isn't that far back again to put a bit of pressure on.
I'm very pleased we have a man on the cameras and the broadcast, because I wouldn't know where to look. It's not my responsibility. It's Tom O'Farrell's today, as it has been for the entire League of Champions. Always doing a brilliant job capturing the best moments of the races. And I think you could agree it's been brilliant tonight, Dave, as well. We've had the battle for second place. We've had the battle for fifth as well. We've even had battle for 12th, and we've caught all the action. Fantastic here. But as we're looking at the battle for fifth position, Dan Zelos just created just a touch of the gap. If you're wondering how much Callum Newsham gained in that previous lap, it was 1.2 seconds on Chris Shepherd. So expect to see in the next 2 minutes maybe a little fight for a podium place. Although, having said that, they've just got across the line. Shepherd's actually a 10th up on Callum Newsham. So it seems when they actually get into some clean air, Dave, that Elliott and Shepherd maybe just have the pace on the on Callum.
Yeah, just a little bit of pace, but I tell you what, I would say it's getting closer than ever, really. Scott Bugner really putting the pressure on Dan Zelos, but obviously Dan is a very accomplished Mini JCW driver in real life, and it's going to take some working to break him. But a guy we haven't seen much of at all, Jordan Brennan, but for all the right reasons, out by a country mile in this class at the moment. Jordan Brennan lapping with the fastest lap time, good consistent pace, and I tell you what, this has got to be a good confidence stamp on the championship for Jordan Brennan.
Yeah, he won't be fined for any late checkout. He was out there nice and early, wasn't he? No worries at all. 5 seconds, 5.5 seconds to the good of Ryan Elliott. I mean, it helps when the second and third keep battling each other. And in fact, Jordan Brennan, we said actually before, he set the only driver so far in qualifying or a race to set a 1:09. Everybody else is in the 1:10s. But since then, he's just been, since he's seen second and third battling, he's just been doing 10.6s, which for him is quite sedate. For everyone else, seems to be about as quick as they can do. So Jordan Brennan certainly coming in strong. Reverse grid is an extremely different kettle of fish. It's all about race management and a tight and twisty circuit with not much aero help either around here. There's not much toe, shall we say, making a big impact. It's going to be very interesting to see.
Look at this.
I know, Chris Shepherd in third place, Ryan Elliott ahead, Callum Newsham behind, and now we've got 20 seconds. I think we're going to get another lap. They're probably hoping Jordan Brennan just slows up a bit, just so they can, well, I'm sure that Ryan Elliott will be hoping that Jordan Brennan slows up a bit, because he's got 12 seconds. He's coming to the penultimate corner.
It's going to be close.
I'm not sure. This looks like it may well be a checkered flag moment. 5 seconds to go. I'm going to treat it like it is. Jordan Brennan will take the checkered flag and the first victory in the Mini JCW League of Champions. A fantastic stamp on the championship, with Ryan Elliott retaking that second place. Chris Shepherd in third. A strong finish by Callum Newsham wasn't enough to get him that podium position. Dan Zelos comes across in fifth, holding off Scott Bugner. Andy Dorman dropped from third down to seventh. Really unfortunate for him. It wasn't how his race wanted to finish. Jack McIntyre, uncharacteristically, in 8th place, with Smith in 9th. Carroll's going to come across the line, or he has come across the line to round out the top 10. Mick Sutton in 11th. Nicky Taylor had contact earlier on, where he's in 12th position, just crossed the line. Paul Laramie in 13th. Kenny Press in 14th, although they're not yet to cross the line, so let's see how this one finishes. And it is Paul Laramie in 13th, Kenny Press in 14th. Simon Thorpe ended up in the wall, unfortunately, coming out the final corner. he will be 15th regardless of how he finishes now. So that is your finishing order on the left-hand side of your screen. And if you wanted reminding or maybe hearing from the drivers, well, Dave Marshall has the podium sitters.
Yeah, I do indeed. So we'll go down to straight away to our P3 finisher, Chris Shepherd. It was a very, very determined drive and looking like it was going to be a P2, but Ryan Elliott there just doing enough towards the end to get back through. But you've got some serious pace in this car.
Yeah, it was a good race. Had a bit of shenanigans at the start. I'm not sure what happened. I got a big hit from behind. Yeah, the pack just split up too much too soon for my liking, to be honest with you, at the start. And once the leader was gone, he was gone. We wasn't catching him. We could match, but we couldn't catch him.
Yeah, well, it does appear that these cars are very, very close to battle against. But, you know, I know it's your teammate, but it didn't look like there was much team orders there. It was all individual there. And I tell you what, it was a great battle to see. Nice and clean between you and Ryan.
Yeah, we was chatting together. We was discussing what we should do throughout. But yeah, it is what it is. I just tried to see if I could catch the guy in front, the leader, but I couldn't catch him. So we just regrouped and went back to where we was.
Well, fantastic effort there, Chris. A good podium and a good start to the championship, nevertheless. So looking forward to seeing how you can get through the pack in race 2.
Indeed, thanks, mate.
I'll move forward on our P2 finisher, Ryan Elliott. I'll say the same. A brilliant battle there with Chris. Great race and respect. And I tell you what, it was an early move and an early chance for you on Jordan Brennan at the start, but just I bet you thought you maybe were going to go through the pack a little bit there, just a little bit late on the brakes, but managed to recover it to a brilliant P2.
Yeah, generally quite chuffed for that. I sort of knew that I'd have to get the move done at the start, and it just didn't pay off for me.
Yeah.
Jordan just has a little bit more than us this week. I think it's only really today where I've actually started to feel sort of comfortable in the car. So I think going into next week we might have a better chance, but just couldn't touch him today. And I just sort of had good pace at the start, dropped off a bit in the middle, and let Chris have a go. And don't know, towards the end again, I just sort of had a bit of a resurgence. Yeah, brilliant battle with Chris, like always. I mean, I've known him for a few years now. I know that good, fair driver, and I can have some great battles with him. And we just both gave it a go. Didn't have a chance of catching Jordan, but really good start. I mean, I really needed a good start. I'm not going to be able to test at all for next week's race. I'm away all week, so I needed to bag some serious points in this round to sort of help boost me up for the rest of the championship.
Well, huge congrats, Ryan, on bringing it home in P2. And as I said to Chris, really look forward to seeing how you can get through the pack.
Thank you.
And on our P1 finisher, Jordan Brennan, a textbook start realistically. You put it on pole and pulled away more than 5.5 seconds. That is basically how to dominate round 1 so far, isn't it?
Yeah, that went pretty well, to be fair. I went quicker than quali as well, which was interesting. I was like, where did that come from? But yeah, the tyres dropped off quite a lot towards the end there, so I was like running 7 or 8 tenths slower lap. But this reverse grid's going to be a different game, so it's going to be so hard to overtake around here, so we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, not that you saw much of the drama that went on, but what I can tell you is them cars, once they're in mid-pack, it is incredibly hard to find any sort of advantage on the car in front. So, fantastic pole lap, fantastic race win there, Jordan Brennan, and we're really looking forward to seeing if you can manage to carve your way through for possibly another Talking To at the end of race 2, should I say.
Yes, thank you.
And that was Dave chatting to our podium sitters at the end of that one. Right. Next up, race 2. Dave, Jordan said it. It's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? It's pretty hardcore. You're going to have to think smart, be patient. 20 minutes is a long time.
Yeah, it is going to be really difficult. But as Jordan said, you know, it's always hard to gauge. You've just got to use your racing instinct. You can't judge what's going to happen. You can't predict what's going to happen. You've just got to look ahead, use your racing knowledge, use your racecraft that you've got. And if you've got any sort of a pace advantage, know where to use it. That is one of the biggest keys. So patience is going to play a huge part here before the race.
Yeah, exactly. So if you've tuned in, wondering what on earth is happening, well, we've had the first race of the Mini JCW, the first round of the final championship in the League of Champions. It all pretty much comes down to this. Tables are starting to be set. We've got obviously another opportunity for the next 4 weeks for drivers to stake their claim into the finale, the League of Champions finale. We'll be bringing you the standings potentially next week or the week after that when everything's sort of heated up nicely, but we've got a reverse grid. And if you've tuned in thinking, oh, is this a mini challenge? Well, no, that comes in early November. Fantastic announcement. We'll have a chat about that a little bit later on, Dave. This is the Mini JCW. Very much looking forward to seeing how these guys are training for the mini challenge. That's basically what a lot of these guys are using this for, isn't it?
It is indeed. You know, it's interesting to see, and I think there's a few guys that'll be thinking they've got a bit of work to do because there's some very, very fast drivers at the moment.
There is indeed. So with only about 10 seconds to go until we're lights out, it's about time we start getting excited with Andy Carroll on pole position. Smith in second place and McIntyre in third. What can he do? The lights come on, the engine notes rise, and we are racing here for the second time on a Tuesday night. It held a little bit longer than I thought there. McIntyre predictably with an absolutely rocket start in third position. Smith looking up the inside as Carroll runs a little bit wide. Look at this. McIntyre absolutely knew to a T where to put his car. From third position, slots into second, and potentially, I think he's got the nice line to get into first. But look at this. He's made contact. That's Scott Bugner with the big sends. Kenny Press off the road with so's Mick Sutton and Jordan Brennan in 13th position. Dan Zelos is rubbing wheels with Andy Dorman. This is a flashback, isn't it? It's a race number 1. Oh, there's a little bit of rub in his racing. Dan Zelos sends it up the inside of Brad Smith. My goodness me, Zelos is really trying to get up there nice and quickly, isn't he? McIntyre hasn't got past Andy Carroll for the race lead yet as Callum Newsham slips down the order as he's been overtaken by Chris Shepherd.
Yeah, but I think that's going to maybe give him the inside line. Will he keep his nose up the inside? No, it's great racecraft there by Callum Newsham. But look at this, Dorman gets a slight tap. I didn't see who by. And yet again, look, Callum Newsham, an innocent party, getting a little bit of a tap on the back. Andy Carroll with Jack McIntyre on the outside. And there's been a collision. Scott Bugner. Unfortunately, Andy Carroll literally gets what we call pit manoeuvred there into the pit entrance there. And what a chaotic start that has been. Cars absolutely everywhere. And I tell you what, a hard job for Jordan Brennan, finding his way all the way back down to your 10th place.
Yeah, hard job for Rich as well to probably go through all the protests that might be happening in the first lap here. But I think we're looking at Jordan Brennan, as you said, in 10th place. I mean, it's not exactly what he was hoping for after a perfect qualifying and a perfect race 1. A few drivers going straight on. That's Paul Laramie and a Mick Sutton. No, Simon Thorpe, actually. Apologies. McIntyre in the race lead. Scott Bugner in second place. Dan Zelos in third. Brad Smith in fourth. Chris Shepherd is in 5th place at the moment. You're looking at the fight for 12th place, or the top 10 arguably, Laramie versus Sutton. But here is the fight for 2nd place. Zelos has come from nowhere, and back McIntyre, I assume, maybe had a mistake. Well, Bugner sent him wide because Bugner's in the race lead. Zelos in 2nd. McIntyre's gone from 1st down to 3rd. But look at this, Bugner's gone a little bit wide. What can Zelos do about that? Going into the final 2 corners. Double right-handers, of course, and you've got to have a really good run. Turn 1, not necessarily the best place to make an overtaking position, but you still need the overspeed for turn number 2. Dan Zelos runs a little bit wide. McIntyre goes to the inside. He's about to prove me dead wrong. He said you can make an overtake into turn 1, but to be fair, he did it a lot earlier than going into turn 1. Scott Bugner leads. McIntyre 2nd. Dan Zelos in 3rd.
Yeah, and I tell you what, this front pack is looking quite close together, but it's Scott Bugner who's trying to look like he's getting an early pull away. And actually, who's that? I believe that's someone, unfortunately, with a retirement. I didn't catch who that was. So Ryan Elliott's back in the pit, so that must have been huge damage by Ryan Elliott, and that's obviously promoted Chris Shepherd, Callum Newsham, and Kenny Press. Look, Kenny Press sitting there in 7th place at the moment, and Brennan finally getting his way through from the back of the grid, finding his way up, and now sitting in 8th place. So a lot of work for Brennan to do, but we've seen the pace he's got. Will he able to do anything later on in this race?
Yeah, Kenny Press is loving life in the 7th place there, isn't he? We don't often see him that far up. Hopefully he can keep it clean and have a good race from there. Jordan Brennan is obviously the driver just behind them. Scott Bugner, though, in the race lead at the moment, when Brad Smith in 4th place. He's calling all over the back of Dan Zelos. McIntyre got ahead of him. Not sure if we saw that one, actually. It all started to muddle into one as I was getting lightheaded with the action that was happening here for the Mini JCW Race 2 here. It's absolutely astounding, the stud that we're watching. And look at this. I think that's Chris Shepherd making a move into turn 2 on Brad Smith. Yep, Chris Shepherd goes into 4th place. Fairly standard move, probably the most common move, as Brad Smith tries to look back to get the cut back. It's not going to happen, though, really, because you're straight into a left-hand apex, essentially. So Brad Smith has to settle for 5th place at the moment. Got Callum Newsham fighting in behind. And I've just seen in the Facebook chat that Kay Baker, Callum Newsham nutters are in the house. Therefore, the party can get started. So let's have a look and see. Keep an eye, anyway, on Callum Newsham. He's in 6th place at the moment. Got Brad Smith to catch.
Yeah, indeed, but we're seeing Callum Newsham incredibly consistent and good pace, so we'll wait and see whether he managed to make any headrows on the drivers in front. I'm just looking at the moment. I tell you what, McIntyre seems to be finding to grips with this car a little bit, with a good bit of impressive pace early on in this race, really starting to catch Scott Bugner now, but Scott Bugner I know fine well be defending with everything he's got.
He will indeed, yeah. And then, of course, Dan Zelos is there to try and hunt him down as well. And Zelos, he's been showing fantastic racecraft, hasn't he? He's been carving moves out left, right, and centre. McIntyre, he had a disappointing qualifying. He had a disappointing race 1. He'll be hoping this reverse grid is a bit of an opportunity as Zelos goes very wide by drifting it through turn number 2. No idea what happened then. Maybe a bit too hard on the trail brake, potentially. He just absolutely sent it, and I thought there was a collision, but actually I think he just sent it himself. And that's allowed Chris Shepherd on the podium.
Yeah, it was either that or maybe just caught his back wheels on the grass on entry to that corner maybe, and that would have done exactly what it appeared to maybe do. We would probably have to try and find out what happened there. But yeah, an unexpected mistake by Zelos, and I tell you what, this could create a bit of a chain reaction with Newsham maybe catching up there in P6. Jack McIntyre with the same pressure that he put on Scott Bugner, but I tell you, Scott Bugner is holding his own here. He's keeping the pressure, and it's a really good result so far for Scott Bugner. I'm just going to throw it out there. Ryan Elliott resetting back to the pit. This is a long shot, but I wonder whether some drivers have a reset button on their wheel, and I wonder whether as he's turned in or lost the back end, whether he's pressed that button by an accident and spawned him back to pits. It's only a complete thought. It might not be exactly what has happened there, but it is a very rare mistake by Ryan Elliott.
Chris Shepherd goes through on Jack McIntyre. Chris Shepherd.
Scott Bugner.
Sorry, yes it is. I thought this was a fight for 2nd place. It's the fight for the race lead, isn't it? Of course, my mistake. McIntyre going for the race lead against Scott Bugner, looking to the outside. Bugner going defensive. Can the cutback happen here? It's unlikely because we're going straight into the S's, but you still need a good exit here, get a good overspeed through the right-hander, and then can he dive up to the inside through the left? That's the question. Too far back for now, although we've seen people attempt it, haven't we? And McIntyre just applying the pressure. How much can Scotty absorb? Callum Newsham going through on Brad Smith. Callum Newsham up into 5th position. The Newsham Nutters will be very pleased about that, I'm sure. So, Bugner still leading for McIntyre, but only just. Shepherd ahead of Zelos, but only just. And Newsham ahead of Smith, but only just. What a shock there. Mini JCW reverse grid, providing us with exactly the kind of racing we were expecting. Bugner going defensive into turn 1. McIntyre going around the outside. No, not quite. Thank goodness he didn't. But he gets the cutback. Expertly done, and we said McIntyre is very good at knowing where to put his car in any car. Racecraft is pretty much the same. McIntyre goes for the race lead. Bugner's attempting to go back, but again, you're straight into that long left-hander. It's hard to get back in. And I think McIntyre is going to have to go defensive into the right-hander, isn't he? As a Bugner goes very heavy, very late on the brakes, trying to get that cut back again. I said it's ambitious to do. It's hard to do, and there we go. McIntyre still leads, but Chris Shepherd has been invited to join in on this little party with Zelos in 4th place as well, having a chat.
What fantastic racing this is. You literally don't know where to look up and down this grid. Fantastic racing so far.
It absolutely is. So we're actually watching a 4-way battle for the race lead, aren't we, to be honest? Callum Newsham is going to be invited in to have a go at some point. We're going to have a look, actually, at how much he's going to gain on this top 4 after they come across the line. At the moment, he's a relatively far back. These guys are coming out the final corner. He's just going through it at the moment. So It only takes one of these pairs to fight. Newsham will be right there to try and take advantage. They're using all the space available to them, as wide as they can on entry, as tight as they can on the apex, and as wide as they can on the entry, on the exit again. Who are we looking back further back here? It's a recovering Jordan Brennan. Brennan and Elliott, obviously two podium sitters in race number 1, 2 recovering drivers in this one. Brennan up to 6th place, getting past Brad Smith.
Yeah, that's a great move past Brad Smith there in 7th place. What a brilliant recovery drive, I think it's fair to say. Actually, Brad Smith with the return, but I tell you, that's not going to work, unfortunately. He can't get the car quite stopped well enough there, and it's Jordan Brennan now chasing down Callum Newsham. Be interested to know in the comments section which drivers you think deserve driver of the day here. It is going to be a really hard choice. As you can see, the grid is separated by not much at all, but now the pressure is on Jack McIntyre by Scott Bugner. Scott Bugner hasn't let McIntyre get away, while also having massive pressure from Chris Shepherd behind. So Scott Bugner actually a little bit wide there on the very last corner. Chris Shepherd here took them behind, and here's Dorman with a look up the inside of Brad Smith going down towards turn 1. It's all kicking off now.
It absolutely is, isn't it? And I tell you what, McIntyre will be enjoying this as he runs a little bit wide though. I thought maybe he was going to get an opportunity to just pull away, but here he goes. Chris Shepherd up the inside on Scott Bugner, and Chris Shepherd comes into 2nd place. Dan Zelos is going to try and take advantage. Maybe the two drivers fighting, try and get some momentum, but he's not close enough. Not just yet. Anyway, McIntyre clearly not the fastest driver on this grid at the moment, but it doesn't matter. He'll take the track position, but not if he drifts it into that corner. Shepherd is going to see that, and he's going to have a sniff at a race lead here. McIntyre holds it for now. I'm not entirely sure because he just locked the rear wheels up, it looked like, and trail brake too harsh. Back end got away with him. He's gotten away with it, though, crucially.
Yeah, he has, but I tell you what, he had a little bit of a break there, and unfortunately, that's actually disappearing now. A very rare mistake there by McIntyre. Seemed to lose the back end and cut a bit more curb there than maybe what he maybe could have done or should have done, and lost a bit of momentum. And look at this now, Chris Shepherd using that advantage that he had in race 1. He is going to be putting some pressure on McIntyre now, but I tell you what, this is going to cause yet again another chain reaction. If these two start battling, look where Scott Bugner and Dan Zelos, and I tell you what, Callum Newsham yet again not too far at all off the back of these
McIntyre goes wide.
There it is. I tell you what, Chris Shepherd has found the room. It's going to be side by side down to the tight complex. I tell you what, I'll let you take over for this bit, Jack.
McIntyre still in the race lead. Chris Shepherd in 2nd place. Zelos and Bugner are going side by side. Zelos has got through into 3rd. Chris Shepherd having to settle for 2nd place though for now. Bugner's demoted down into 4th position. It's no longer a 4-way fight. It's a 6-way fight, because right in the background is that recovering Jordan Brennan, the pole position man for qualifying, the race winner in race number 1. He's into 6th position, and there's still 8.5 minutes left. Do not rule Brennan out for a top 3. Brilliant recovery drive. In fact, speaking of recovery drive, Ryan Elliott all the way down in 13th position. We won't be seeing him on the podium anyway without something massive happening anyway. McIntyre, Chris Shepherd's clearly got a little bit more pace than McIntyre, but every time they go for a move, McIntyre still comes around, and he's still in the race lead. Looking at the inside into turn number 1, not a good idea, but maybe just trying to fill the mirrors of McIntyre as they go through heavy over the apex. Into turn number 2. Here is Shepherd looking for an inside. He already is, Dave. It's a brave move to try and outbrake someone there if you're that far back, and he doesn't make it. Zelos is breathing down their necks.
It's some fantastic racing. The grin on my face genuinely is absolutely massive at the moment. And I tell you what, we sort of missed that there. Dan Zelos finding his way past Scott Bugner. Dan Zelos with feeling like there's a chance for a win on the table. But you're right, I just looked at the timing screens. Jordan Brennan with a 1:10.1. Jordan Brennan does have the fastest lap, so Brennan has definitely got the pace in the car. He's chasing down Newsham at the moment. Maybe not quite close enough to really worry them, but I tell you what, Chris Shepherd is looking very, very racy. I think you'd agree, Jack, on the back here of Jack McIntyre.
Yeah, I think all it will take is one move as we're looking at Dorman versus Smith. Smith obviously doing quite well initially, falling back a little bit, maybe not to be unexpected considering the 6 drivers that are currently ahead of him, but he's currently best of the rest. As Andy Dorman goes through, though, through the final corner, but it's a drag race to the line, isn't it? As Smith and Dorman, Smith ahead. They're both grey cars, and my pixelated screen makes it quite hard to see, but it looks like Smith ahead of Dorman for now.
Yeah, battle of the greys going on here, but I tell you what, Dorman is looking very racy. Fantastic racing from both drivers here. Brad Smith maybe just cooked his tyres a little bit too much early on in this race, and that's maybe why we're seeing him struggle a little bit here. Chris Shepherd absolutely throwing the car sideways everywhere, and I reckon this is going to really start to bunch up soon. This is now definitely a battle. 6 minutes to go, 6 cars in with the chance of the win. Realistically, this is just going to get more and more chaotic.
Callum Newsham now slightly driving in his mirrors, I fear, because he knows that he's got that speedster of Jordan Brennan currently in 6th position right on his tail. So at the moment, there's a bit of a gap between 4th and 5th, but McIntyre, he's still holding on. I said it, and I think in the last lap, it seems that Chris Shepherd is sending everything at him. But when it comes round to it, when it comes to cross the line again, it's still McIntyre. McIntyre has to go defensive, though, because he doesn't get the run. Shepherd with a fantastic opportunity. Please don't go too wide. This could be the one and only opportunity we see for it. A missed apex there by Chris Shepherd. But this could be an incredible move here by Dan Zelos. Zelos going up the backside of McIntyre. He's trying to get through. McIntyre holds on to the position. Zelos goes to the race lead. McIntyre off the edge of turn number 3. Zelos in the race lead. Chris Shepherd still in 2nd place. Bugner has moved up to 3rd. Callum Newsham in 4th. Brennan in 5th. McIntyre is now in 6th, but they're still off the road in the background. That's the fight between Bugner and Newsham. Newsham looking for that podium position, but this is typical Mini JCW racing, isn't it? Zelos leads Shepherd, Bugner, Newsham, and now Jordan Brennan, McIntyre.
My God, that was absolutely stellar racing there between all the drivers. I think Jack McIntyre, unfortunately, getting dealt the worst hand there. 2 drivers up the inside. Obviously, he wasn't aware that that was going to be there. Didn't hang it quite as far on the outside as maybe he could have done. And then, obviously, 2 cars to the right of him just started to wander over a bit. And unfortunately, there was only the grass left for Jack. So that's going to be probably down to look at the cars. But actually, very strange collision there. Cars getting backed up, but watch this. Jordan Brennan is making the hair at the moment, all the way up to P4. Chris Shepherd dropped down to P6, I believe that is, behind McIntyre. It's all changed at the front. Scott Bugner up to P2, and John Brennan's going for the move up in the inside of Callum Newsham.
Yeah, I think Bugner's going to potentially go a bit further backwards, but Callum Newsham's gone wide. That's going to hurt the Newsham. Notice he's gone down to 6th position now, so it's his opportunity to chase back up.
Here he goes.
Bugner and Brennan. Brennan, I think, on the outside of these 2. Yes, he is. So Brennan's going to have the inside for the right-hander, but how much is he going to get squeezed by Bugner? Brennan is going into 2nd place. Oh my days, keep in mind this guy was 13th at one point in this race. He's now into 2nd, and we've still got 4 minutes to go. I don't think my voice can take it, especially as we look to the fight for 4th place. And Chris Shepherd, who was in 2nd place, going for the race lead, is now trying to go in for 5th. And I think McIntyre's going to hold on just about. Dan Zelos has checked out a little bit, but Brennan, Bugner, McIntyre, Shepherd, and Newsham are still going at it.
Yeah, that there for me was perfect.
Oh, big drift. Sorry there, Dave. Big drift, and that's Chris Shepherd going into 3rd position as Bugner drifts wide. McIntyre got caught, and he's down.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that was actually a case of brilliant racecraft by Scott Bugner. He pushed to pass on Jordan Brennan a little bit, knocked him on, but backed off the car, made sure Jordan Brennan kept the advantage that he did have. But unfortunately, that then backed him into the back of McIntyre, and I believe it was Chris Shepherd, and that unfortunately caused this chain reaction, and it's meaning it's all go for P3 all the way down to P6.
Yeah, I think Bugner's maybe had one eye on the touring cars, because there's been a few push to passes by him, and I think there was another one just there as he was pushing Chris Shepherd through the corner. Just a tap of the rear wheel, unsettling the cars.
Oh, that's a great move.
He potentially will have a great move here, but it's hung out to dry there, and I think Shepherd's going to drop down. And he drops down. Don't make contact with McIntyre. No, McIntyre just about holds on. I'd be amazed if he could see that coming, to be honest. It looked like he was waiting for the contact as Newsham. Who's that up there? It's Andy Dorman into 7th place. I think Dorman's thinking about getting involved with this at some point. I wouldn't be surprised, because they are holding each other up by no end. Their previous laps, they're in the 1 minute 12s, these top fighters, apart from Dan Zelos, who's just away with the fairies for the moment. But actually, he may not well be for long, because he's got 2 minutes to hold on to a 1.6 second lead, and he's got Jordan Brennan behind him.
Yeah, that was just yet again. I seem to mention it a lot, but a chain reaction. One thing developing into another, into another, into another. Ryan Elliott managing to get himself back up to P11 after his reset back to the pit. So that was a strange scenario. Andy Dorman with a move, looking like he's going to try and go around the outside of Callum Newsham. This will be incredibly brave on the brakes, but can't quite do it. Callum Newsham again there though. Unfortunately for me, just the innocent party was going to go up the outside of, I believe it was Chris Shepherd, don't hold me to that, up the inside of Chris Shepherd, and then Chris Shepherd moving across, closing the gap, Newsham on the grass, and then obviously Shepherd came across the inside and sideswiped into the side of Jack McIntyre, doing very well not to slide off the edge of the track. So one of them things, a massive racing incident, but I imagine maybe the clerks of the course might be busy after this one.
I think the clerk of the course will be quite busy after this one as Dorman looking
Brilliant
at the inside of Callum Newsham, gets a good drive. Newsham knew he was coming as well, so he decided to, I wouldn't say allow the move, but preempt the move. You know, thinking probably that it's better to finish in 7th than finish not at all, sort of thing. And there's still a lot to go. We have to think about driver of the round, Dave. If we haven't, if this race hasn't been exciting enough, there's only 40 seconds or 30 seconds to go. We need to think driver of the round. And to be honest, we've had a few people, Michelle Dunn in the Facebook chat. We've had Richard as well in the background, VRRC background. He's voting for Jordan Brennan. And I think it's hard to say no, isn't it, really? When he's put it on pole, he's won race 1. And we don't always like to give it to the driver who scored the most points. But to be honest, the recovery drive is the reason why I would probably give him the vote as well.
Yeah, and also for me, it's not just the fact of the brilliant recovery drive, it's the fact he was patient, even though he could smell the opportunity to get even a potential podium in the early stages of this race too, when he was starting to make his comeback. He didn't rush it. He didn't just barge his way back through. He let things develop. And actually, we've slightly missed that. Dan Zelos going across the line to take his first victory in the Mini JCW. Jordan Brennan, driver of the day, with a fantastic recovery drive. And Scott Bugner, providing some of the biggest action, I think, out there on track at the moment, bringing it home in P3.
Yeah, I think Scott Bugner was one of my votes for driver of the day halfway through race 2, but I think there was maybe one or two too many touring car style contacts through the sort of latter stages. I think the clerk of the course may be having a little bit of a word with him. It's all speculation from an independent commentator, of course. You know, don't come at me in the chat. But yeah, we did miss it slightly. Dan Zelos taking an excellent victory, and I have to say, he did brilliantly well, didn't he? It was so opportunistic, his moves for the race lead. I can't wait for you to have a chat with him about that, because obviously it was a lot of, I think it was Shepherd versus McIntyre for lap after lap, and then Zelos just came in, saw the opportunity and stuck his nose at the inside and got the drive, and then he got a gap. Brilliant driving by him. Jordan Brennan, of course, in 2nd place, driver of the round as well. So, Dave, I think it's about that time that maybe you invite some of the drivers in whilst I'm reading out the rest of the results. Chris Shepherd in 4th place, Jack McIntyre rounds out top 5, Andy Dorman in 6th, Callum Newsham 7th, Brad Smith ended up in 8th, Mick Sutton 9th, Andy Carroll was rounding out the top 10. Ryan Elliott recovered to 11th, not as high as he would be hoping. And I believe it was Kenny Press, Nicky Taylor, and then Paul Laramie and Simon Thorpe.
Yeah, it was indeed. So actually, we'll go to our P3 finisher, Scott Bugner. What do we even say after that race? That was some drive there, some effort, and I tell you what, providing some absolutely huge action there on screen.
I am absolutely sweating after that one. I don't think I didn't take a breath from about 4 laps in. Yeah, no, it was really good. It was a really good race. Bit of argy-bargy, but, you know, I think it was good, fair racing. And it was great. Yeah, well done to Dan, well done to Jordan. That was a good drive. And, yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, the Minis never fail to provide some action like that. I mean, that must have been a hard drive to actually trying to find the pace advantage to get some of them overtakes done to get past.
Yeah, I think it was more just luck. I think I tried to just break about half a second after everyone else and hope for the best, really. But no, everyone left, a decent amount of room, and the pace was there. But I think I just kept making a few mistakes in the first few laps, which kept Jack right on my tail. But no, it was really good, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and obviously you saw how close it was in qualifying. I take it going forward, we're going to have ballast on from next round out. That's only going to make it an even harder job for the drivers, especially closer to the front of the championship. I take it you're thinking this is not going to be an easy championship at all to sort of predict where you're going to be the following week.
I don't like making it easy for myself, do I? That's the problem. No, the weight makes it a lot more even, and it helps, it helps us, try and get through. And yeah, I think it'll make it really interesting.
Well, looking forward to seeing how you get on next round out. Fantastic podium, Scott Bugner, and always providing the very sideways action.
Cute.
And move forward on our P2 finisher. After the start you had, John Brennan, back down into P13. I think we saw you. I mean, from mid-race on, it was looking like the podium was on, but I bet you weren't thinking that from the start of the race.
No. As soon as I got taken out at turn 2, I was like, well, that's race over. And then I got into turn 4 and got taken out again. I was like, no, this is definitely over. And then I just seen them battling at the start, and I was like, this is still on this. But I just didn't have enough to catch Dan at the end there.
No, I mean, talking about expectations, you didn't have quite enough to catch Dan. I mean, you come from P13. I mean, fantastic drive there, John. I take it, the way the actions planned out from race 1 here, this is definitely going to be a hectic championship, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was difficult to get through, but it was fun. I just kind of got lucky with everyone battling up front and just found a gap and went through. But yeah,
well,
it's going to be interesting anyway.
I must also point out huge support for you on the social media platforms, on the stream, and happy to announce that you are driver of the round and a well-deserved, a pole, a race 1 win, and a fantastic recovery drive all the way back through with patience, consistency, and racing respect. Huge well done, Jordan.
Yes, thank you.
I'll move on to our P1 finisher, Dan Zelos. I mean, it went from a rather hectic race 1 to an even more hectic race 2. Huge congratulations on the race win.
Thank you. I didn't think you could top Mini Challenge in real life, but I think we may have just about done that then. That was, very hectic. And to be honest, I didn't have the consistency to be at the front, and that showed that in the first half of the race. We kept making mistakes and the guys kept getting past, but we were in the right place at the right time. I know there was a bit of contact when I got through to the lead with, I think it was with Chris Shepherd and possibly with Jack. So I'm just hoping that I didn't ruin anybody's race, but overall, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we might have to get that as a quote and use that as advertisement.
I was about to say, Rich will be literally quoting that on the website right now.
He is currently jumping for joy. Yeah, I mean, fantastic.
Tapping away on my keyboard.
Fantastic effort there, Dan. And as you said, just that racecraft from real life really helped you just to create them moves possible because, to be caught up, we're watching it on stream from a bird's eye view and we can see what's developing. But I tell you what, when you're down inside that car, it feels very closed, very hard to see where the track's opening, very hard to spot apexes. So to actually find opportunities and opens like that is just down to racecraft and experience in cars, isn't it?
I think so, and I'm getting more experience in the sim now as well, which definitely helps. And it's good to have teammates like Scott Bugner who did help me out in that one, and we kept our battle to the minimum so we could kept attacking. So having Scott as a teammate helped, and I'm glad for him to get a podium. But yeah, it's them getting better and better, and more time I spend on the sim, but it does just need time. And yeah, let's see how we can do for the rest of this championship.
And last little roundup towards the end of that race. Jordan Brennan was on his move, wasn't he? He was getting closer, but I take it you were sort of thinking, I've got a good enough gap now. I've got a good enough gap to bring this home. Let's just chill it back and bring it home.
Yeah. I was in my rearview mirror and I was like, just don't look at it, just don't look, and he won't be there. I was almost edging forward in my seat to think I was going to get to the line quicker. He was coming quick, and I'm glad that checker flag came.
Well, huge congratulations, Dan, on bringing it home in P1. To be fair, a fantastic championship point haul for you at this round out. And really looking forward to seeing how you get on at the next round, which I believe is Nürburgring.
Thanks, mate.
Well, that was Dave Marshall chatting to our top 3 drivers, plus driver of the day, Jordan Brennan. You can see already the championship standings are being loaded, and you can see them on your screen now. Jordan Brennan with 40 points, no surprise there, with the first and the second place. Dan Zelos with 31, Chris Shepherd with 28, Scott Bugner with 25, and Ryan Elliott with 22. So Callum Newsham with 22 as well. Ryan Elliott, Dave, at the end of the day, even though he had a poor race too, won't be too disappointed. He's still in the top 5.
Yeah, I know Ryan. He's going to be disappointed.
Well,
he's
yes,
going to be disappointed.
It's maybe he slept on it.
I'll have to drop a message and trying to find out what actually happened there, because obviously that's completely unknown to us. It seemed like quite a rare mistake, or possibly a collision or something like that. But yeah, as you said, damage limitation, he still sat there in 5th place, and the point stand at the moment is incredibly close. And I tell you what, when the weight gets applied, these grids are going to be incredibly close on lap times.
They will indeed. Yeah, it's weight for 8, I believe, isn't it? Going back to that little saying from the GT4. So you can, well, basically, the top 8 gets weights, don't they? And I think it's 10 kilograms increments, you were saying.
Increments of 10 kilograms all the way down. So 80 kilograms at the top, first place at the bottom gets 10 kilograms. So yeah, going to make it very, very interesting. As you can see, 10th down over weren't that far off the lap times. So I tell you what, this is going to really bring it up and possibly get a chance for 13, 14, even 15 of the drivers all within that half a second lap time, which is just going to be absolutely chaotic for any opportunities.
Yeah, we love a bit of one make series, don't we? It really adds the spice to the mix. Right. I think it's about time we probably round it out, Dave. It's been an awesome night racing. The minis have come back with a bang, the Mini JCW for the League of Champions. We're off to the Nürburgring next week, which I'm sure the drivers will be very much looking forward to. It is the GP layout there, I assume.
Yes, I believe it is. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, it would be a long night otherwise.
Yeah, it's definitely not the Nordic Life. I was just trying to think whether it's the GP layout or the sprint layout, which obviously is the slightly less tight chicane, but I believe it's the sprint.
Yeah, it's sprint.
Yeah.
Top commentators here, knowing exactly where we're going next week. Nürburgring, Laguna Seca, Brands Hatch are all to come for the mini. So if you enjoyed what you saw today, then be sure to like or subscribe or follow wherever you've watched this from, so you can tune in next week at the same time. My name's been Jack Oliphant. I've been joined by Dave Marshall in the virtual commentary box. 1 like on the stream equals 1 prayer for my throat, because it is hurting quite a lot. We'll see you next week. Goodbye. Between the two of them,
The inside of coats.
Parker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.